Max Verstappen successfully converted his pole position into a commanding victory at Suzuka, reminding everyone that he remains very much in control of the title fight. However, while Red Bull celebrated, attention quickly turned to McLaren, and not for the right reasons. Despite having arguably the strongest car on the grid all weekend, their race day decisions left both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri frustrated, as questionable strategy calls undermined what could have been a much more fruitful result. McLaren had the performance to challenge for more, but instead walked away with second and third. A solid result on paper, but far from what they had envisioned given their pace. Suzuka's layout, known for being tricky when it comes to overtaking, makes qualifying vital. Yet it also demands flawless race execution. That's where McLaren faltered. One of the biggest talking points was the decision to pit Norris on the same lap as Verstappen. In doing so, the team sacrificed the chance to run in clean air, something that had been critical for the McLaren to get the best out of its tires. Hold on. Did you know that 99% of you watching right now aren't subscribed? If you enjoy my content and want to see more, please hit that subscribe button. It takes just a second, but it means the world to me and helps keep this channel going. Join the family and let's grow together. Now back to the story. The car has shown a tendency to struggle when stuck behind another driver, particularly in terms of tire degradation. Andrea Kimi Antonelli, for example, demonstrated just how much more life could be extracted from the tires when running alone at the front. By pitting Norris when they did, McLaren put him back into traffic, ultimately compromising his stint and any real shot at challenging Verstappen. Piastri's race wasn't much better in terms of strategy, as the team failed to adapt dynamically to changing conditions and opportunities. Looking ahead, the question is whether these strategic missteps are just isolated incidents or signs of a larger issue within the McLaren camp. If they want to consistently fight at the front for the remainder of 2025, their decision-making on Sundays will need a serious reset. Adding to Norris's frustrations during the race was a brief off-track excursion where he ran onto the grass. A small mistake, but one that added fuel to an already growing fire. The incident summed up a race where nothing quite clicked for the Brit, largely due to strategic missteps from the McLaren pit wall. One of the major criticisms was McLaren's decision not to attempt an overcut, a strategy where a driver stays out longer than the car ahead, aiming to take advantage of fresher tires later in the stint to make a move. Given the McLaren's issues with following in dirty air, this could have made a significant difference, especially for a car that thrives in clean air. Norris himself acknowledged the missed opportunity after the race, suggesting there were alternative strategies that could have been explored. Maybe we could have tried a bit more with strategy, an overcut or undercut. For some reason, we just boxed on the same lap, he reflected. There's definitely stuff to look at. I mean, hindsight is great. I probably should have gone for the undercut. But then again, you've always got to factor in the safety car risk. I don't think I could have gone much longer either. I might have lost a position. Still, I think we should have gone for something different. Even if Norris had temporarily lost track position, potentially to teammate Piastri, the post-pit phase of the race might have played out in his favor. He could have had the tire advantage needed to reclaim spots, or even challenge Verstappen with better pace. McLaren's decisions didn't go unnoticed, with former F1 driver and current Sky Sports analyst Anthony Davidson also weighing in. He pointed to Andrea Kimi Antonelli's strategy as a prime example of what McLaren could have tried. Look at Antonelli. He stayed out longer on the mediums, delayed his pit stop, and once he switched to the hard compound like everyone else, he was consistently the quickest on the track, Davidson noted. He even managed to secure the fastest lap and started reeling in his teammate George Russell. In the end, McLaren may have cost themselves a real shot at victory, not because of a lack of speed, but because of an overly conservative and poorly timed strategy. If they want to turn strong weekends into wins, their tactical approach needs to match the quality of their car. Mercedes showed with Antonelli that staying out longer in clean air can pay huge dividends. His performance was a textbook example of how effective that strategy can be when executed correctly, which makes it even more puzzling why McLaren didn't try the same with at least one of their cars. The McLaren was clearly the quicker machine around Suzuka all weekend, especially in race trim. So why not give one driver, either Norris or Piastri, a shot in clean air to fully exploit that pace? Sure, McLaren may have their justifications, but it's hard to argue that they made the most of the machinery at their disposal. Instead, both of their drivers spent the majority of the race stuck in dirty air, something that significantly affects tire performance and overall pace, as was evident. That leads us to another major discussion point: McLaren's reluctance to let Piastri go after Verstappen. It was fairly apparent throughout the race that Piastri had the stronger pace of the two McLaren drivers. And while some might argue that if he was quicker, he should have simply overtaken Norris, it's not that straightforward. An on-track battle between teammates risks excessive tire wear and time loss, both of which would have only benefited Verstappen, who was already controlling the race from the front. Swapping positions, especially when one driver is clearly faster, is not unusual in Formula One. And in this case, it might have given McLaren a genuine shot at chasing down Red Bull. But according to team principal Andrea Stella, the characteristics of the Suzuka circuit made overtaking too difficult to gamble with such a call. He emphasized that the outcome was effectively locked in during Saturday's qualifying, saying, "There wasn't much room to change things today. The race played out as it did yesterday. Our cars finished where they started. While we're pleased with the double podium, we know the competition is close and sometimes ahead." Stella also pointed out that staying out longer wasn't necessarily the quicker option, citing George Russell's pace on hard tires after an earlier stop. He explained how as soon as a driver gets within a second of the car ahead, dirty air kicks in, cutting down performance significantly. In his eyes, overtaking, particularly Piastri passing Norris, was simply not feasible under those conditions. Still, Piastri was clearly confident in his pace and felt he could have done more if given the opportunity. Although he accepted the result, he subtly voiced his disappointment after the race. "Yeah, that's right. The result was pretty much set in qualifying. Today the pace was fantastic, and I was really pleased with how I drove. I got close a few times, but track position is crucial here," he said. "I'll take the podium, there are lots of positives, but I've got to qualify better next time to take full advantage of the pace we had." Throughout the race, Piastri had been asking the team to consider a position swap, believing he could mount a stronger challenge against Verstappen. When asked how McLaren responded, he admitted, "There wasn't really much of a reaction. I felt strong the whole race and believed if I had the track position, I could have done something more." All in all, this felt like déjà vu from previous seasons. McLaren had the tools to challenge for the top step, but a combination of conservative strategy and an unwillingness to take calculated risks cost them. With Verstappen and Red Bull unlikely to ease off anytime soon, McLaren will need to reflect hard and fast if they want to convert potential into wins in the remainder of the 2025 season. "I could have gone after Max, but that's just the reality when you don't qualify ahead," Piastri admitted post-race. "At least I raised the issue, and I think that was a fair thing to do. It was a strong race overall, and that's how racing should be. But it definitely leaves us with questions. And those questions are becoming louder with each race. Is McLaren truly ready to fight for a driver's championship? The team undoubtedly has the technical package, and their infrastructure is loaded with top-tier talent. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is McLaren throwing away their best shot in years? And if you haven't already, check out the video popping up on your screen now.